Hello, my name's Anne Davis, and I'm here to talk about the BCL MJUR course in Human Rights at Work. This is an advanced employment law course, and we could also give it that title, but we've chosen Human Rights at Work because lots of the topics that we focus on are dealing with human rights issues in the workplace. There's been quite an interest in a sort of human rights focus on employment law in recent years, and that's what we've chosen to take as the kind of main focal point for this particular advanced employment law course. And we have a book, I have a prop here, which covers many of the topics in the course. So that's a useful thing to have a look at if you want to get a sense of the kinds of things that we cover. Not everything we do is in the book, and we don't do all the things that are in the book, but it provides quite a useful basis from which to build. In terms of the jurisdictions that we cover, those are dictated really by where we are and what our expertise is. So English law as it's affected by the European Convention on Human Rights. We still talk a lot about EU law because that is our closest neighbour, even though we're no longer a part of the EU. And of course, we look at international standards with a particular focus on the ILO, the International Labour Organization. Occasionally, we bring in comparisons with other countries too, other specific jurisdictions, but we don't make any claims to be global. I think that's just too ambitious in terms of what we have expertise in and what we're able to cover. But I should say that everyone is really welcome to take the course. It doesn't matter if you are not from the UK, if you are not from an EU member state. You will find this stuff really easy to pick up, and we can help you where it's all a bit confusing or there's different jargon that you don't know. We just want anybody who is interested in doing an advanced employment law course to feel really welcome to take this course. And there's no need for you to have done any of the subjects before, so no need to have done employment law in your previous degrees, no need to have done equality law, no need to have done human rights law. We will not assume any prior knowledge, and we will try and help you build up the knowledge that you will need in order to do the course. And I really want to emphasize that lots of people have taken the course and been very successful in it, had brilliant results, despite having started completely from scratch. So do please feel very welcome, whatever your intellectual background and jurisdictional background might be. The teaching team for this course consists of me. I have wide-ranging interests across the whole of employment law, and I'm one of the authors of the book that I just showed you. I also have a particular obsession with remedies in employment law at the moment, but you won't hear too much about that on the course. We have Professor Alan Bogg at the University of Bristol as a visiting professor on this course, so he comes to talk about some of the collective labour law areas in particular, where he has a lot of expertise. We have contributions from Sandy Fredman, who is our resident equality law expert on the faculty, and Jeremiah Adams-Prassel, who is our expert on tech and surveillance and algorithmic management and the future of work. So he contributes some fantastic sessions on those topics to this course. So to give you some examples of the kinds of things that we cover, we do some very classic employment law topics like the scope of employment law, who is covered by employment law, who is an employee, who is a worker, how do we deal with the gig economy, platform work, precarious work, and so on. And in that seminar, we ask particularly whether the human rights focus makes any difference to those personal scope questions. As I've already said, we look at equality law, and particularly the relationship between equality law and human rights law, which obviously is something that varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But in English law and in the EU and ECHR systems, that's quite an interesting question. We examined some really classic employment law topics to see whether human rights contributes anything to them or whether there are any human rights in those spaces at all. Dismissal would be a good example of that. Very core employment law topic, hugely important, job security in many systems, but no real clear human rights input into that space. And we do things like freedom of association and the right to strike, where there are well recognised international rights that do make a big difference to the way that the law is understood and evaluated in those areas. And of course, as I've already said, we look at some of the modern challenges of labour law. So whether our jobs are going to be taken by the robots, what to do about having an algorithm as your boss rather than a human being, and so on. So I think it's a really good mix of kind of very familiar labour and employment law topics with a few curveballs thrown in that are picking up on sort of really hot contemporary issues that you also need to know about. The teaching method for the course is, as with all BCL MJOR courses, principally through the seminar. So we have 7 seminars in the first term, Michaelmas term, and 7 seminars in the second term, Hilary term. And for each of those seminars, you'll be expected to do some reading. We grade the reading according to essential, recommended, or further, so that you can figure out what you've got time to do. And we expect you to come prepared to discuss. And so the seminar is not a lecture. It obviously has a shape and a plan to it, but we encourage you to get involved and to contribute your thoughts and ideas on the topics that you've been reading about. We then also have 4 tutorials, which are an opportunity for you to practice your essay writing skills. So we have 1 in Michaelmas term, the first term, 1 in Hilary term, the second term, and then 2 in Trinity term, which is the third term, just before we get to the assessment window. So a tutorial is where you write an essay ahead of time. The person giving you the tutorial will read and mark the essay and give you some comments on it. And then you come in a smaller group than we have for the seminar and discuss the essay topics with the tutor and what you learned from writing them, what your ideas are. So that would usually be in a group of 2, 3, or 4 people, depending on who else has chosen the same essay topic that you've chosen. And that's an important point to emphasize too. We give you choice over which topics you'd like to write your tutorial essays on. So there's a bit of scope to focus in on the things that really interest you and the things that you really care about out of the 14 topics that we cover on the course. Our assessment is a take-home exam. You have 2 weeks to do it towards the end of the third term of our academic year, Trinity term. You'll have a choice of 6 questions and you'll have to answer 2 of those questions, and you have a total of 8,000 words to write. So the thinking there is to give you plenty of time over that 2-week period to really explore the topics, to make connections between different topics, to put forward your own ideas and suggestions and analysis, rather than trying to kind of bash out something really quickly in exam conditions. So hopefully that's a slightly more relaxed way of doing the assessment and gives you a really good opportunity to show what you've learned and what you've thought about. We're not trying to trip anybody up. We're trying to make sure that you can show off your knowledge and your ideas to the best of your ability. So I hope that covers everything that you need to know about human rights at work. I think it's really interesting. Teaching this course is the absolute highlight of my week. We have really good discussions with a really engaged group of people from lots of different places. So it's always great to interact with you and to learn from you, as well as trying to impart a bit of knowledge to you too. So yeah, I really hope that you'll consider taking it. If you've still got things that you would like to know more about, or if there's something that I've forgotten, please don't hesitate to drop me a line My name is Anne Davis, and my email address is thestandard@law.ox.ac.uk. But my name is spelled Anne, A-N-N-E, Davis, D-A-V-I-E-S. So it's anne.davis@law.ox.ac.uk. Otherwise, I hope to see you at the start of term in Human Rights at Work. Thank you.